What's up, friends? Welcome to SPDM TV. My name is Mike, part of the SPDM crew, and I watch a lot of TV. We talk about various TV topics, reviews, and general appreciation of TV, past and new. You can follow me on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Serialized at MLHT2452 to see what all I'm watching. So, way back when, and by way back when, I mean a couple of years ago, it's not like it's that long. I used to write for a website where they gave me the opportunity to podcast. And what I did was that I'm taking a look at some of these episodes that I did before and looking to see if I can kind of introduce them to a new audience. So I am going to do a series where I release some of those episodes just so that I can showcase just some of the past work that I've done.
And I have a guest. I've
Hey,
graduated
hey.
to actually having a guest. Please welcome to my show, Chris, my buddy Chris.
Hello. Hey, everybody. Good to be here. How's it going?
Chris, thanks for coming on. Greatly appreciated. And look,
Yeah.
I'm gonna pump up my buddy Chris here for a second because there is nobody that I think is a bigger fan of this show or who knows the show better that we're talking about today, which is, dare I say, the greatest comic book show of all time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe the greatest show of all time.
It's definitely up there, but we're talking about Batman the Animated Series. So Batman the Animated Series back in September turned 30 years old.
Good Lord.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Going all okay boomer on us. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Oof.
But
We're millennials.
Batman the Animated Series originally aired on Fox. And Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but this was not this was not a Saturday morning type of thing, was it? It was more Saturday. It was more like weekday afternoons.
I remember it weekdays. Yeah. I
Yeah,
remember every day after school. Maybe it was 4 days a week. I don't know. But
yeah. But
yeah, no, it wasn't like, most other superhero shows.
right. So, but Batman the Animated Series, it's, again, tipping our cards right off the bat. We are following the DC comic hero Batman, voiced by the late great Kevin Conroy. And let's just
Oh,
get this out of the way right now. Kevin Conroy, who recently passed away, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Kevin Conroy is the best Batman ever,
he is.
right? Or
Not,
he's at least in the conversation.
Oh, at least in the conversation, yeah, I'd say he captures the character better than anyone. Not just the voice. I mean, the voice is perfect. The differentiation between Bruce Wayne and Batman, but I mean, just the character. He captured the soul of Batman, and I love many of the actors that have played him in the movies and done him in other art forms like video games and shows. But man, Kevin Conroy is number one. He's the legend.
He's going to go down as one of if not the best Batmans, and it's going to be a tough title to knock off of him,
Hmm.
unfortunately, because he's, like you said before, he did it in shows, he did it in movies, he did it in video games, and also just the sheer longevity of,
Oh yeah.
he's been doing this for, he did it for nearly 30 years
Hmm.
as well. You're not ever going to find anyone who does that. Like even Hugh Jackman and Robert Downey Jr. couldn't play their respective heroes that long. And yes, I
Hmm.
get it. It's different. I get it. Like, don't come at me, bro, with all this stuff. But at the same time, you know, 30 years of portraying the same, being the voice of Batman for that long, it's iconic now. So
I mean, I
so
literally when I read Batman comics, it's Kevin Conroy's voice I hear in my head when I'm reading Batman's lines.
yeah. I
It's him.
definitely agree with that, because also, like you said, just the inflection of the voice, and everything like that. It's not like he's going all Christian Bale, where it's like, oh, you clearly have a Batman voice and you clearly have a Bruce Wayne voice. Like,
Hmm.
like, it's just sometimes it's just about subtlety and
Oh yeah.
just, you know and care and dedication and everything
Hmm.
like that. And that's what Kevin Conroy did for Batman the Animated Series. So all of this to say, rest in peace, rest in power, I guess, Kevin Conroy. Just the the greatest to ever do Batman, or one of at least. But Batman the Animated Series lasted for 4 seasons, which feels weird to say that it only lasted 4 seasons, because I
Right.
feel like the show was on for a little while. It lasted 85 episodes, and you can stream it currently on HBO Max until HBO decides to pull the plug on it unceremoniously for some stupid reason. But Chris, give me your first experiences with Batman the Animated Series, and maybe just Batman in general, because I correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure you have a pretty decorated history with Batman as a comic book character.
Oh yeah, I mean it goes back to, as far back as I can remember. I don't even probably before I have real conscious memories, I was a Batman fan. There's pictures of me as a kid wearing Batman gear or looking at Batman books or drawing pictures of Batman, and I don't even
I've
I have
seen
no
them.
memory of
I've
that.
seen
Yeah.
them. Chris and I have known each other a long time. I've seen them.
Yes, we have. And I just I don't even remember it. I remember watching the Adam West show with my mom when I was a kid, with the reruns of it, and I remember having comics of it, and I had a audio tape that was like of Untold Legends of the Batman, I think it was, and they had, somebody did like an audio tape where they do all the voices, and I had that before I could read, and I would write my own Batman. I would write my own Batman stories, and by that I mean I would sit down and tell my parents what to write because I couldn't write yet, and then I would draw the pictures for it. Yeah, it just goes way back. And I remember, I was 4 years old when the first Batman, the Michael Keaton Batman movie came out, and I wasn't able to see it in theaters because it was too dark, but I just obsessed over it until my dad finally gave in and let me watch it on VHS. And yeah, so, it's always been a part of my life. And I remember it was around the time Batman Returns came out or was coming out that the animated series launched. And so it was kind of like a double, it was like a double blow. We got Batman, the animated series, and Batman Returns. So we had something to enjoy in the theaters as well as enjoy on the home screen. And yeah, I mean, from the first episode, I was obsessed with it.
Yeah, for sure. And Batman is one of the DC characters that I definitely could get on board with a little bit more, because he was just, it sounds so callous to say he was just a regular dude, because he was also super rich. So obviously he had all the resources that he could have to be Batman. But there's something very admirable about Batman as a character. It's like, hey, you're seeing this city that you love. Like you love this city more than almost anything out there right now. And you're looking at how it's deteriorating, and all this just collection of just random villains and stuff. We'll get to Batman's rogues gallery, I'm sure, later on, because it is arguably the best in all of comics. We'll get to that soon enough, I'm sure. But for you to take up the mantle of Batman to try to clean up the city that you love, there's something that's kind of admirable about it. Something kind of stupid about it too, but there's something very admirable about that characteristic, and that's something that's always stuck out to me with Batman.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because people do, they say, well, his power is just that he's rich, but it's a lot, it's a lot more than that. It's his will that he will just never give up, and he will do whatever it takes to, to make Gotham a better place. And even if he wasn't rich, he would still be doing something like that. Maybe not on as large of a scale, but that's just who he is. He would do that, even if he didn't have a dollar to his name, he would be doing something and giving it his all. So yeah, I mean, that's almost, that's more important than any power you could have.
To all those people who say Batman's not a real hero because he's super rich, I'm going to present to you Elon Musk, and you've already proven my point for me, is that just because you're super rich doesn't make you a hero. Looking at you, Elon Musk, I don't have a problem calling you out on this platform, I guess. But anyways, so yeah, Batman the Animated Series. This was a staple for after school watching. You got, if you had homework to do, like Chris, I can't speak for you, because like I know in my household I was not allowed to watch TV until I got my homework done. So you better believe I rushed through all my homework, even if I did it all wrong, just to watch Batman the Animated
Right.
Series.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, homework was the second place for sure compared to Batman the Animated Series.
So, Chris, what is it that you love about Batman the Animated Series?
Oh man, there's a million things. Let's start with the art. The art is still, it's one of the coolest looking shows I've ever seen. So they were, of course, greatly inspired by the old 1940s Superman cartoons. Very like dark, noirish look to them, and kind of like the square jaws. And so the look of Batman the Animated Series was so cool, and also that it was a show that didn't have a time exactly, like a time period. There was modern technology like television screens, but they were all black and white, like it was in the olden days. And the police, use blimps. When do police ever use blimps? They have like some of the vehicles are very modern, and a lot of the technology is modern, but it seems almost like something that takes place, 80 years ago. It's like a city that exists in its own reality, and just so cool looking, and very dark, which fits for the character, of course. So there's the look of it. The voices, we already mentioned Kevin Conroy, but I mean, Mark Hamill is the Joker, just amazing. Roddy McDowall is the Mad Hatter, is one of my favorites as well. Also, like with Kevin Conroy, when I think of these characters' voices when I'm reading comics, it's usually the animated series voices that I think of in my head. So it was we talked on the other podcast about X-Men and how that's a little bit more of a continuous story. And Batman the Animated Series episodes were more standalone. There were some overarching things, and they would, have some continuity, but with Batman the Animated Series, you could more or less pick it up anywhere throughout its run. You could watch any random episode and you wouldn't be lost. So it was just one of the coolest shows. It was a show that just some interesting bits of trivia. Most kids shows at the time couldn't have guns, but
Yeah.
they somehow were allowed to have guns on the show, as long as nobody actually got hit by one. So if you ever
Right.
watch it, you'll notice anytime the bad guys are spraying their Tommy guns, it only Batman throws his batarang, so they just hit a wall or something, or aim it at the floor. Yeah, no, it's just I don't know. There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, for sure. Let Can we go back to the artwork for a second?
yes,
Because
yeah.
that to me, just the art, the use of the colors, just it feels like you are watching a comic book come to life.
Mhm.
Like that was something that has always stood out to me. And we talked in our last podcast about the intro for the X-Men one with the great theme music. This intro isn't a slouch either. It's
Oh
it's
yeah.
so good. Just the use, just even the use of, like, I know it's weird to say that like animation used lighting and all that stuff, but like
Mhm.
it's like you said, it's really dark when it comes to some of the animation, but then I'm looking at my article, shameless plug for my article, Retrospecticus on Batman the Animated Series. But I'm looking at right now a GIF, whatever, of
GIF.
fine. Okay.
Hard G. It stands
If
for
that's the hill you
graphic.
want to die on, that's fine.
The
But
G stands for graphic. It's
okay,
okay.
fair enough. I gotcha. But I'm looking at a GIF. There you go.
Thank
Of
you.
Batman, his silhouette, and then the lightning bolt just coming in behind him. So
Oh yeah.
that's so cool. That's so
Iconic.
cool. And just how the intro a lot of times, because one of Batman's big things that he does is that he kind of is just, lurking in the shadows and everything like that. Kind of similar to how a bat does it, I guess. Well, it's kind of as if that was supposed to be a thing. But
Hey.
it's just so cool, the just how the intro, and just even subsequently in the episodes as well, just how dark the animation was, but just how vibrant it just manages to be with the animation
Mhm.
style.
Oh yeah, it just looks amazing. I mean, they light it like a movie.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. I mean, it's on a par with the great cinematographers in film. Yeah, just outstanding artwork.
Yeah. You mentioned the
Also,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
oh, I was going to say the the intro is so cool too, that it's one of those things, if you're just if you're binge watching and just streaming it, I never click skip intro. Even
Yep.
if I'm watching like 20 episodes in a row, I'll watch that intro every time. It's just so good.
You mentioned the voice work, and I'll just kind of narrow in specifically on Mark Hamill as well, who
Oh
you can
yeah.
make an argument Mark Hamill is also up there for iconic Joker performances as well, because just the voice, just I don't know how Mark Hamill did it, and how there's going to come a point where Mark Hamill, no, that's a bit controversial to say, but there's going to be a point where there's going to be just as many people who remember Mark Hamill as the Joker in the animated series as people will remember him for being Luke Skywalker.
It's not that far off, really. At
No.
this point, he's been doing it for 30 years now.
And again, he's just like the Batman and the Joker, just in the comic, just the characters themselves. But Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy have been doing this with each other for 30 years, and they've done movies, they've done TV shows, they've done video games. I'm sure they've done other stuff too, I guess. But you're not going to find as Heath Ledger put it in The Dark Knight. I think we're just meant to do this forever.
Right.
And when Heath Ledger said that in The Dark Knight, it just kind of hit me in that sense. Like, I guess because also Heath Ledger died a couple months before, The Dark Knight was released. But like, that is something that's just lasting about the Joker and Batman, is that these two are just meant to do this forever. Right?
Oh yeah. They're perfect foils. There's a great episode of Batman the Animated Series called The Man Who Killed Batman, where this nobody, this 2-bit hood, kills Batman. Supposedly everybody thinks that this guy killed Batman, and the Joker finds out about it, and of course he is not happy because he just took away this guy just took away the Joker's soulmate. And how can he carry on without it? It's one of the best episodes.
That was one of my honorable mentions for this, because there's a lot of great stories in Batman the Animated Series, and I think that's something that I like a lot about Batman the Animated Series, is that it doesn't exactly follow the comic books to a T. There's a lot of episodes that they're based, and they've got some resemblance to what it was in the comics, but a lot of the episodes, they're just kind of original episodes, and they're taking elements from the comics, but they're just kind of running with it on their own.
Oh yeah, and a lot of the things that people love most about Batman came out of that show, like the character Harley Quinn was created for the show.
We were going to get to that eventually, but
okay.
now that we've gotten there, let's just talk about it, because dare I say Harley Quinn is one of Batman's, at least in modern times, because Harley Quinn is now everywhere as like a symbol of feminine mystique, and what it means to be like a supervillain, like a female supervillain, even though her origin story, for lack of a better word, is actually like really tragic. And how just you have this person who was, for lack of a better word, seduced by a psychopath. And then she just becomes this victim of domestic violence.
She very much is a just another one of the Joker's victims, really. It's an abusive relationship, in comic book form.
But then in subsequent years, because Chris, have you watched the Harley Quinn like animated show on HBO Max
I haven't yet.
Before they yank that off, because HBO Max doesn't know what they're doing right now?
No, I know. You hear that?
You should check it out. I think you'd like it, because
I'm sure I would.
Because they take Harley Quinn in a lot of very interesting directions. Because in the very first episode, the first thing that they do is they have Harley Quinn break up with the Joker.
Yeah, they've done that in the comics for a little while too. Now I think they just they needed to give her some agency of her own and have her. I mean, the best. I mean, the iconic way that she's shown as being the Joker's, loving girlfriend, so to speak.
Right.
I mean, it's great, but after so many years, you kind of got to give them something else to do. Otherwise, it just gets stale.
Yeah.
But
so you have we've talked about the Joker, we've talked about Harley Quinn, so this is a good foray into just talking about Batman's Rogues Gallery, which again, to me, it's between Spider-Man and Batman. But Batman, you look at Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery, and if you could pick like one villain that's like you are his top nemesis, who would it be?
For Batman?
No, let's go with Spider-Man first.
Oh, for Spider. Ooh, yeah, it's the Green Goblin.
Yeah, it's probably Green Goblin, which
just because of the Gwen Stacy stuff and because he's so old. I mean, been such a long running. Yeah. Dr. Octopus is a great one too, but he doesn't quite have the personal history as the Green Goblin does.
Well, but then you on the flip side, you have Batman's Rogues Gallery, and then you just have this deep bench of all of these great villains. Yeah, I will admit it gets a little weird too. I think that's what kind of makes Batman's Rogues Gallery so great, is that it just has this really diverse and interesting group of people that is very heavily featured in the animated series.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
So,
mean, there's too many good characters to even think of.
yeah, I mean, because I take a look at some of the ones that are prominently featured in this. You have, Joker and Harley Quinn. We've talked about that, but then you have Two-Face, the Riddler, Catwoman, Poison Ivy, Scarecrow, Penguin. That's just scratching the surface of just some of the great villains that Batman has gone up against, and just some of the great storylines that they come up with. It's kind of astounding how many villains Batman goes up against, because again,
Mm.
it kind of just again makes it more admirable. It's like, geez, Bruce, why are you putting up with all this? Because you have all these people who are trying to take over Gotham. Why don't you just let them have it? You know?
Never.
But
He would
but
never
that's
let them
that's just
win.
not who he is. And
No.
he'll just continue to go through it, just go through the ringer for all of these people. Like,
Mhm.
Chris, do you ever watch the show Gotham?
I watched a few episodes. It
It's
was not
different.
not
It's
for
different.
me.
It's different.
Yeah.
But again, that was something that because I did end up watching it, and just the sheer amount of Batman villains that they ended up using for that show. It's kind of amazing how they find ways to just jam a lot of these people in somehow, but they still manage to find ways to make them all work. So,
Mhm.
Chris, give me your top Batman villains. Like, give me
Oh,
like 3 to 5 of either your favorites or your like the ones that like you remember their stories the most.
oh, Joker, obviously. That goes without saying. Mr.
Almost
Freeze.
unfair to
Yeah.
just it
He's the
seems like the
ultimate.
Joker should be on most people's if they kind of know what they're talking about, but I
Yeah.
get it. It's all good.
Yeah. Mr. Freeze, of course, great villain. Who another thing that the show like created was the most commonly used backstory for Mr. Freeze now, wherein he was like a scientist whose wife had this terrible disease and he froze her until he could figure out a cure, and then he gets screwed over by the corporation and becomes a villain. That was all created for the show. Before that, he was in the comics, he was just a gimmicky villain that I don't he was just this I don't even know if he was a scientist or whatever, but he was just this dude that had like a freeze gun.
Yeah.
There really wasn't that much to him, but the show made him into such like a three-dimensional character that, to this day, that's the go-to for Mr. Freeze's backstory.
Look, I'll just tip my cards right now. That's my favorite episode of the entire series.
Heart
It's
of Ice.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
There's something that is just so heartbreaking about that
Mhm.
episode, because it look, a lot of times with a lot of villains in comic books, it's there has a tendency to just it be very black and white. This guy is good, this guy is bad. That's
Mhm.
it. But for certain villains to get some type of agency and some humanization, you know what? I'll take it. I will
Oh
take
yeah.
that to
I
give
mean, it's
them
more
to
realistic.
have them be a more well-rounded and just actual person, as opposed to just a James Bond villain just twirling their mustache. Or
I'm also a huge James Bond fan, but we won't
yeah,
get
I
into
know,
that.
I know.
Okay, that's another
I said
podcast.
that very intentionally,
Ah,
so
you're
but
messing with me.
but yeah, that's something that actually a lot of Batman villains do have a lot of that tragic backstory, whether it's based in the comic or based on the animated series. And that's kind of another thing that makes a lot of these villains actually like, oh, like I kind of get it. I kind of do.
Oh yeah,
I
and
don't agree with your methods, but I get it.
right. And the other thing about most of Batman's great villains is that they all kind of represent what Batman could have been under different circumstances.
Yeah.
Like the Penguin, being this kid who's born into a really rich, wealthy family, but his parents not so great, born into not as morally upstanding of a family as the Waynes were. Batman could have ended up like the Penguin if he was born into a crummy family like that. Mr. Free is a character whose life is shaped by tragedy, but takes a darker, the wrong path for justice as opposed to what Batman does. There's a pretty much all of Batman's greatest villains, represent what Batman could have been if he didn't have the correct nature and or nurture, I suppose.
For sure. Chris, anything else about that you just want to point out that you love about Batman the Animated Series? I know that there's a lot. I get that, but like, give me one last thing that you want to just kind of talk up about the show.
Oh yeah, I mean, we could literally do a podcast for almost every episode of the show and talk about it
Good.
for this long. It's that good. No, it's the GOAT. It's funny too, not like hilarious or anything, but there's a lot of really funny moments on the show. And yeah, no, I think I would like to throw out probably my favorite episode is Almost Got Him, where all the villains are sitting around playing cards in some shady nightclub, and they're all talking about the time they almost got Batman.
Yep.
And of course, it could have ended there. That could have been the show or the episode, but then they take it another step forward or further, where Batman is actually one of the villains at the table, but he's there to get information about where Catwoman is because she's been abducted. And then after he saves Catwoman, she almost gets him to take his mask off, but he goes away, and that's Catwoman's almost got a moment. And it's just brilliant writing, just such a well-written show.
It is.
Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, man, could just do no wrong.
That number 3 on my list. It's that episode is so great, and it's just, I don't know, it's a really unique way to present the premise that they're all there for a game of poker.
Right.
Just again, brilliant writing, just all around. That's something that I don't think animated shows get enough credit for things like the writing and all that stuff, because it's different when it's animated characters. You can't see the person that's doing the voice, so they shouldn't count and all that stuff, which is ridiculous. But but yeah, just I thought that episode was genius, the way that they did that. And you're ultimately right when it comes to this show. It is one of those greatest shows of all time, and it crosses a lot of different mediums as well. It's one of the greatest animated shows of all time. It's one of the greatest comic book shows of all time. And once you've crossed that many different genres and that many different, differentiators, it's got to be up there in the conversation for one of the best shows ever created. And for it to reinvent itself after, well, not so much reinvent itself, but just find a way to just make it continue for Batman to be this relevant so many years into his existence in just pop culture lore. Hats off to just the creative team and the creators and everything like that, just making something that is just going to endure for a long time. So Chris, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, it hasn't lost its touch. It's still just as good now as it was back in the early 90s.
And like, again, it's on HBO Max, and HBO Max right now is definitely crawling with Batman content there, both live action and animated. And look, there's a ton of Batman shows and Batman animated movies and all that stuff. They're all good in their own respects, but none of them hold a candle to the quality and just everything creatively with Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, it's so good. And yeah, one other thing I would point out that's really cool about Batman the Animated Series is they found a way to do a good job of encompassing the hard grittiness as well, like the realistic grittiness, as well as the fantastic. Like, so for instance, I'm a huge fan of the Dark Knight trilogy, but those are like, so to speak, very grounded in reality. There's no superpowers or anything. And then there's, you could look at certain points in the comics where everything happening with Batman was very science fiction oriented, just lots of fantastic things and crazy. But the Batman animated series found a way to get both of them at the same time. Yeah. You could have characters like Man Bat, who's literally a man that mutates into a bat, and then you can have and you can still set it in this gritty, realistic, crime-ridden city. And I don't know, it's I don't know if I've ever seen it done like that, where they could mix both those things together so well.
And we're probably, I hate to say it, we're probably never going to.
Yeah. I mean, the best other that I can think of that does that is like the Arkham video game series, and those are, you know, those are basically just the animated series brought
They're
to video game
adjacent.
with,
Yeah.
yeah,
They're adjacent to the animated series, if not just a little bit more rough around the edges intentionally.
right,
You know?
little more grown up, I guess. Too.
Yeah, and it's, you know, we don't get which superhero video games, for the most part, not very good. They're not very
Right.
good. Let's just call it what it is. Arkham Asylum and Arkham City are obviously the two greatest Batman games ever, but they're also in the conversation for two of the greatest video games of all time.
Oh
Which
yeah,
again
I still
goes to
play them.
show that this style and just what Batman, the foundation that Batman the Animated Series laid down, just continues to just transcend.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah. Do you ever the Mask of the Phantasm and Mr. Freeze?
Oh, the Sub-Zero.
Oh, the
The
Sub-Zero one.
movies.
Sorry.
Yeah. The movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mask of the Phantasm is one of the best. A lot of Batman fans actually think that's the best Batman movie, and that's a hard, you know, that's hard to argue with.
It is hard to
Um,
argue with. Yeah, but no, I get that. So, all right, cool. Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming to talk to me about Batman the Animated Series. And you're right, we probably could have talked about this for a lot longer. Who knows? Maybe one day we will. So,
Part 2, yeah.
Chris, anything you want to plug or anything, or where can the people find you?
Oh man, I'm not like a huge social media dude, but you know, I'm on Facebook, Chris Bostrom. I'm on Instagram at xerchris07. Feel free to hit me up there and add me or follow me, and I'll add or follow you back. And if you want to chat Batman or any of that stuff, yeah, just let me know. I'm down.
Cool. Well, thanks again, Chris. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great friend to be, just to talk,
Not just a friend.
a partner.
Dun,
Dun,
dun.
dun. This again.
That's going to do it for this episode of SPDM TV. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe to anything and everything wherever you get your podcast. Join us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Blue Sky at SPDM Crew. Check out our website. Check out our website at com. Shout out to HiFlyer Creative Studios for making our awesome logo. Greatly appreciate their support. And if you have any creative needs, contact them at HiFlyerCreative.com. Check out the other shows in our network. We've got a lot of great content on there, and I'm really proud of the work that everyone's doing. We've got a ton of different things that you could ask for. So check out the other shows on our network. And if you've got a podcast idea or you're interested in being part of the SPDM crew as a guest or collaborating, email us at gmail.com. Until next time, happy watching, friends.